Hello everyone, my name is Tom and this is LT Gaming. We're two brothers who love strategy games, space games, all manner of games that deserve a bit more attention than the algorithm usually allows. Today's video is an update on D.O.R.F, real-time strategic conflict, and I've learned from my last video D.O.R.F basically means small village in German, but I find that a little funny for a game that is trying to resurrect the old throne that Command & Conquer built all those years back. So tiny village, massive wars. You know the drill guys, like for the algo gods, sub for our fragile egos, and comment because frankly the devs' best ideas sometimes come from you lot arguing in the trenches. Alright, let's jump into this one. Alrighty guys, let's give you a quick catch up in case you missed my last video on this game. You can also go and watch that one if you want. D.O.R.F Real-Time Strategic Conflict is an upcoming RTS that is very much trying to wear the old Command & Conquer crown. So think chunky isometric visuals, some proper good old-fashioned base building, and the classic loop of build economy, pump out units, and try not to get your entire backline deleted because you blinked for a second. Now, this is not just nostalgia for the sake of it. The reason I'm keeping a close eye on this game is the old school feel has a lot more going on under the bonnet, or hood as you Americans say. Land, air and sea all in the same match. Resources that aren't just spam harvesters and forget. And this slightly unhinged idea that you can capture enemy production and start stealing their tech. So I really like all these innovations in this game, and it is definitely building on the formula. So late game fights aren't just going to get bigger, they're going to get weirder. Who is this for? If you miss RTS games where your base actually has a meaning, your economy can fall over if you get a bit too greedy and overextend, and where battles turn into proper scrapyard chaos, you're probably going to find yourself right at home here. If you're after a clean, streamlined, modern RTS where everything is tidy and polite, this might feel a little bit off to you. So that's the vibe. What's the latest updates? We're going to dig into it today, and how it changes how the battlefield moves. So let's start there. So the first recent update that really made me go, oh hang on, this is something different, is this vehicle physics update. It's one of those phrases which I've heard before, but it usually means not much. A bit of a wobble, a bit of dust, and everyone's clapping, good job. But this looks different with D.O.R.F. They're looking like they're actually going to make vehicles act like they've got weight. So bikes aren't just going to glide over hills, they're going to bounce. Tanks won't move like they're on a dinner plate, they're going to tilt and settle like something heavy would. And in an RTS like this isn't just going to be a visual flex, it should change how the map plays. Terrain will stop being wallpaper and start being something you're reading mid-fight. Now the spicy bit for me is they're not just going to look good, but they're going to talk about things like ramming, crushing infantry, and even the idea when an aircraft goes down, the wreck can actually do damage if it lands on units. Which for me is frankly the sort of nonsense I live for in RTS. It's the good kind, the kind where I'm going to remember that match. So let me break down what could change mechanically and what I'm looking for, because this could be brilliant or it could be the birth of 1,000 bug reports. So in a lot of classic RTS, terrain is basically background, it's wallpaper, it doesn't really impact the game. You move your blob, it arrives, you fight, and here it looks like your vehicles will be bouncing, tilting, reacting. And then the hills become some sort of tool which you can implement strategically. Routes will become choices, and suddenly that safe flank might be slower, messier, and just less reliable under pressure. And that's where things like ramming will get interesting, because this ends up as a proper toggle, then it becomes a risk-reward moment. Do you commit your heavy vehicle to smash through, knowing it might take damage too, and you basically announced your plan onto the entire map? Same with crushing infantry. I love the idea, but not every car is just going to casually delete squads. It will keep it fair. But if big units can do it, and you get this proper RTS panic where they're bringing all their infantry trying to say, no, we got to stop this advance, it is going to be something very cool to see. And the detail I can't stop thinking about is this aircraft wreckage, and the fact it will do damage when it crashes to the ground. And it will be these little physics moments that turn a match into a story. And I'm genuinely curious to hear from you guys what you think about this, and if you think this is going to complement the gameplay or not. Alrighty, a quick one from me before we get into the naval side. If you are enjoying this update breakdown, tap like, you know you want to. And if you want more RTS oddities, deep dives into other games, and rants about supply lines, sub and let us know about it. And also, I genuinely do read all the comments that come in, good and bad, much to my detriment. So let me know. Last time I learned that Dorf is village in German. I'm going to learn a lot more in these ones, I'm sure, so drop your comments and let me know your thoughts. Okay, naval combat in RTS, and if you're inwardly groaning, you are not alone. I'm going to say it plainly, in most games it's either pointless, annoying, or a mix of both. And this is why this update caught my eye, because it seems D.O.R.F is aiming to not only fix naval combat, but a very specific vibe. Navy as a commitment. Not I just build my shipyard and spam 10 boats and annoy you from the sea as well, but instead proper expensive assets that feel like floating strongpoints. Which is honestly the only way naval can work for me. If I'm building ships, I want it to feel like I've made a choice to commit to this strategy. And I've decided to control a theatre of the map and the war. Not just unlocked a damp version of my tank factory that's just going to be annoying for the entire match. And the interesting part is how they talk about water and terrain. So water is not just a wall, but the idea of deep and shallow water. So this reminds me back to games like Total Annihilation, and that lineage of games all the way up to Beyond All Reason that embrace this sort of thing. So shallow water can be something that is crossed slowly by land units, and this is a big deal because it will turn coastlines into actual contested zones. Beachheads will matter, shorelines will matter, and suddenly naval control isn't this separate mini game, but pressure that leaks into the rest of the map. And it will also make maps more interesting because you have areas that are mostly water without turning into you brought your ships or you don't get to play in this side of the map. If shallow routes exist, you can have options. They're just slower and riskier and probably be pretty painful while you're under fire. So the headline here is that D.O.R.F isn't just adding boats, it's trying to give naval combat a bit of a soul, which is lacking in many RTS games. You can control space, shape movement, and punish greedy coastal bases, and if they pull that off, it will make the whole combined arm things feel way more natural. So yeah, I'm really fired up on the direction I'm seeing here, but there are a few things that I need to watch very closely because this is where a cool idea can meet RTS reality. Firstly, for me, does the physics movement stay sharp? Weight and momentum are great, and when they make positioning matter, even better. But if units start doing that thing where you tell them to go left and then they perhaps go diagonally and the pathfinding is just rubbish, let's be honest, people are going to bounce off it fast. RTS players are many things, but patient is not always one of them. Secondly, ramming and crushing, fun tool or just kinda a useless function. So if ramming becomes a proper tactical choice with trade-offs, brilliant. If it turns into the dominant answer to infantry, suddenly the whole game will become build the biggest thing, drive at your problem, and that will get old pretty quickly for me. Third is naval counterplay needs to feel fair. I really like the idea of ships being expensive and powerful, but if one battleship just parks near your base and turns your shoreline into a no fun zone, this is where you're going to get the dreaded, guess I lost because I didn't build the boats feeling. So there has to be counterplay to this. Lastly, it all hinges on AI and map design, because all of this gets 10 times worse or better depending on how the maps are designed and how the AI functions on them. So these are my big watch points: control, feel, counterplay, and whether the maps actually let these new ideas breathe. So that is basically, guys, where D.O.R.F is at right now. It's still wearing that classic Command & Conquer DNA on its sleeve, but these updates are the sort that are changing it and changing the feel of the whole battlefield. The movement overhaul is the big one for me, because if terrain and weight are going to be meaningful, it will give every fight a bit more personality. If they can land this ramming, crushing and whole wreckage can do damage thing idea without turning it into pure jank, it's going to create some really memorable matches. Then on the naval side, I'm just relieved to see they have an actual philosophy to Navy being a commitment, making water and coastline matter, and stop it feeling like a separate awkward mini game that you only touch when the map forces you to. But guys, what do you think? Do you want naval combat in RTS at all? Because like me, I've been scarred by this in the past and I kind of hate water maps on many RTS games. Drop your thoughts below. It is likely this will get seen by the devs, so let's help shape this game into what we want it to be. And as always, like, subscribe, all that good stuff if you want to, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye now.